What's up, y'all? Welcome to another episode of FitBizU. I'm your host, Jill Coleman, and today we are going to talk about something we talk about a lot on the show, but we have to talk about it more because it is that important, which is productivity and specifically block time. Now, block time is actually a phrase that I learned from Brendan Bouchard many years ago. He's an internet marketer. He's actually kind of more into personal development at this point, and he does have, I think, some of his books are actually around productivity. And I've learned a lot from him. And, if I think about productivity, one of my biggest lessons around it is not really how much time you dedicate to something, but how much focus you dedicate to something. And there was a book that I read, and I've mentioned this book several times on the show, which is called The Power of Full Engagement by Tony Schwartz, and I think Jim Lohr as well. So the two of them put this book out called The Powerful Engagement. And I read it back when I was a full-time personal trainer. I was working like 70 to 8 hours a week in the gym. And it was also around the time that I listened to the 4 Hour Work Week for the first time. And messages were similar, but these were obviously the messages that I need. Now, I don't know that this book would really connect with me at this point in my life, to be honest, but because I was what I would call busy, but not productive, this book really struck a chord for me at that time. And when I say I was busy but not productive, I remember I would just get to the end of every single week and be like, I'm fucking exhausted. I don't have anything to show for it. Right? I show up for my clients. They're great. I get my workouts in. But I remember being like, I'm not progressing in anything. I'm not building anything. And I had to make a lot of hard decisions around my in person clients, my schedule, to create what Brendan calls block time. Block time is dedicated time where you sit down and you work with a high level of focus and presence and get a lot done in a short amount of time. Now, most people, and me included, especially when I was working for I had my corporate job, I would personal train in the morning from like 6 to 9 a.m. I would go sit at a desk from 9 to 5, and then I would go personal train clients from 5 to 8 p.m. And during that 9 to 5 block, I worked, but I remember thinking to myself, I don't it's like not enough to do. Like it wasn't, and they actually show this in research, like the average person in an 8 hour day actually works like 2.5 hours. And of the 2.5 hours they actually work, it's more like 45 minutes of like really dedicated, focused work. So that's crazy to me, right? But you have to go to a job where you have to sit at a desk for 8 hours and maybe you get 45 minutes of actual, like, focused work done. This makes no sense to me. And of course, this was the idea behind the 4 Hour Work Week, was this idea of being able to have time flexibility. And what has changed a lot for me is I don't necessarily prioritize a lot of time or time management. I prioritize energy management. So this is really interesting. And this is just kind of top of mind for me. This morning, I went with Keith, who is my partner, and my dog to the dog beach, which is like a 45-minute to an hour-long drive away. It's a really nice dog beach, and we had planned on going. And so I had been like, okay, I'm like in a really busy season of work right now. Doing my normal work, showing up for my clients, delivering. Plus, we're building a fitness program. Plus, we're building a business program on top of the fitness program. And so it was just a lot of things happening. And we're at the dog beach this morning. And all of a sudden, then we go to breakfast after. It's kind of like this thing we do. And we're always home by like noon. So it's not like it's this whole day thing. But I'm sitting at breakfast and I'm noticing myself getting like more and more agitated. And Keith, God bless him, is like, are you okay? Do you need anything? Like he's picking up on my energy. And I remember, and at the time, I like, didn't know why I was feeling that way. I'm just like irritated. I'm just like, and I kept just being like, I just need to get fucking home. Like I just was like, I need to get home, because if I'm home, then I can like sit down and I can get shit done. And so it was interesting to notice, because then I got home and I started getting shit done. I was like, oh, actually, I didn't even have that much to do. Right? Like it was like, oh, actually, I got done the things that I in my head seemed so big. But I sat down in my office, closed the door, turned off my notifications, and 90 minutes later, everything is done. And I'm back to feeling in my power. And so it was just a reminder to me that, like, yes, we need to have scheduled block time, because what was happening was, because I was feeling out of my power, like I just need to get shit done, I'm not present with my partner, right? I'm not present this morning when we had planned to have some quality time. So I'm like, well, I don't like that, because if I'm with my partner, I want to be present, right? I want to spend this time and really soak it up, because I know that when I get back home, I'm going to get back to work. So it was a reminder to me that block time is so pivotal, not because it's a lot of time, but because it's highly focused time. This is the difference between being busy and being productive. Y'all, you can sit at a desk and push around papers all day long and call it busy. But if you sit down and you're like, all right, I got fucking 2 hours. The kids are at school. My youngest kid is down for a nap. I got 90 minutes. Like, I'm going to get shit done. And when you do that, you notice that you actually don't need a ton of time. And you also, it forces you to work on the biggest dial movers. So I started, and I've been doing this for years now, obviously, but I have scheduled block time. So my team actually knows, they can actually go into our calendar and they will see like a chunk of time that says, Jill do slides, right? If I'm doing slides for a presentation, or Jill record workout videos, or Jill do programming, or Jill answer questions, or Jill, you know, respond to messages, or whatever it is. Jill write email. Like, literally, that's in our calendar, because it helps me to be like, all right, I don't even need to worry about it until it's on the calendar. So if I had been more prepared this morning, I could have put on my calendar, okay, record podcasts. I have to write my weekly email, and I also have to start programming some of these workouts. If I had just put that on my calendar and been like, okay, Jill, relax, you're going to be back at your desk in an hour, then I could have been more present with my fiance and be more present this morning. So putting it on the calendar is a productivity system. I think when you know when you're going to do it, it gives you permission not to stress about it until you get to that time, because you've laid out dedicated time to that thing. And the other thing that came up was because I was starting to get feeling like annoyed, not annoyed at Keith, and obviously not annoyed that we're like at breakfast in a beautiful like beachside, restaurant this morning. It was more that I was starting to get irritated, because I was like, I got shit to do. And I started being like, it was the push pull of like, I know I should be enjoying this because I know I'm going to work later, but also like I'm annoyed because I have so much to do. And so he was picking up on things, and he's like, are you okay? Are you okay? And then he starts taking it sort of personally. So he just went to the gym, and I messaged him, and I'm like, and I didn't know any of this was happening in real time, right? Like, after, like, later on, I was like, oh yeah, that was why. So I sent him a message and I said like, hey, I wasn't upset at you. I'm sorry that I was coming off a little cold, or I wasn't, I was kind of quiet. It was more because I was just feeling stressed. And I stressed because I felt like I just needed to work. And he was like, yeah, totally get it. So you might even have to have conversations with your friends and family, especially if they don't have the kind of job that you have, or they don't work at home like you. This is definitely something that has been a practice with Keith and I, because he obviously goes to work, but he works 24-hour shifts. He comes home, and when he's off work, he's off work. He has nothing to do. He does his own stuff and works out and, does whatever, but he doesn't have to work. And so I find myself being like, yeah, let's go down to the beach and lay out, or like, yeah, let's go. And it's not that I can't do that stuff, but I have to remember that like I do have to have a level of discipline because I work at home. So I might need to have a conversation and say, hey, I'd love to go to the dog beach, but can we be home by noon? Because I need to get my work done. And he's like, great, right? So you might have to have a conversation, put it on your calendar, these things that help us, just because when we sit down to actually work, I think you guys would be surprised at how fast you can actually get shit done. Sure, there's things in business like building a sales page, or creating a course, or doing like video train, whatever. There's these big projects that we have. But once you get them done once, they're done, right? You write a sales page one time, now it's done. You write your sales emails once, now those emails are ready for the next time you launch that program. You, create a course, now you have the course, and you can resell it for years to come. So yes, we certainly have these big projects every once in a while. I don't recommend doing more than one big project per month, or even per quarter, to be honest. But when we sit down, it's the regular stuff. Like, I need to clear out my DMs, or I need to clear out my inbox. I need to clear out my messages. I need to get back to my coaching clients. Whatever that is, doesn't actually take as long as we sometimes think it does. It's much bigger in our head. And so use your block time that you have dedicated to do the biggest dial movers, getting a post up, writing an email to your list, creating a new lead magnet, responding to your messages, or getting back to coaching clients, right? Delivering on the service that you have, creating slide decks for your upcoming training, whatever it is, make sure you're using that time to be productive, and the block time is for your creations. The block time is not for consumption. So, for example, sometimes, like I'll wake up in the morning, I don't have a morning routine. I love to sit on my couch for like an hour and drink coffee, and I love to scroll. And I'm sure every single, productivity expert, guru, ice bath person would tell me that the last thing you should be doing in the morning is looking at your phone immediately. But I like it because I use it for research, right? I'm doing recon. I'm liking things, I'm saving things, I'm commenting on things. And a lot of it's just, yes, it's mindless, but it's also research. Consumption is research. That's not block time, right? Do that while you're on a walk. Do that while you're in a car ride. Do that while you're sitting on the couch in the morning with a cup of coffee. Do that at night when you're brain dead, right? That's when you scroll. That's when you do your research. That's when you do your consumption. You do not do your consumption during your block time. Your block time is for you. And you're doing the biggest dial movers that are going to build the business, that is going to move the business forward. Okay. So incorporating block time into your schedule, you don't need a ton of these. Like, I don't want you thinking, oh, I need block time, so I'm going to do like 4 of them a day. If you even get 1 or 2 time blocks per day, that's huge. When I was a full-time personal trainer, I had clients every morning before work and every evening after work. And so, like I said, I'd personal train from 6 to 9. I would work from 9 to 5, and then I'd personal train from 5 to 8. And when I was doing that, it was every single night and every single morning. And then I had a moment where I said, Jill, you need more space to build your business. Like, you literally have no time. Like, yes, you're making decent money, and yes, you're, taking on clients, and yes, you're getting paid time for money, but you don't have any time. All you do have money, but you have no time. And if you really want to build this internet business, and you really want to become a blogger, and you want to be prolific, and you want to, put your creation out there and create courses and programs and learn business, you have to create time in your schedule. So I asked my clients to come at different times, and I freed up my Monday and Wednesday mornings and my Tuesday and Thursday afternoons. And so I asked people to come at different times, and I was able to just get those 2 mornings a week and those 2 evenings a week. And I also stopped personal training on Saturdays. That was a big thing because I was like, sure, I'll do it, right? It's money, quote, it's money. Sure, I'll take you on anytime you want. Friday night, anytime. Saturday morning, 6 a.m., I'm there. So I had to start having some boundaries to then create time. And ironically, the more time I created in my schedule for big divers in the business, the more money I ended up making. This is why you might hear someone who, like my mentor James always says, like, the less I work, the more I make. And I never kind of got that. I was like, what the fuck are you talking about? Yeah, of course, at the beginning of your journey, y'all, like, you're going to have to fucking grind. I know I was just so miserable personal training and working like 80 hours a week that I was like, I'll do fucking anything. So I would get home from personal training clients at 8 at night, and I would write my blog, or I'd write meal plans for distance clients. I'd write programs for people. And so all of that had to happen. Of course, I'm in my late 20s, early 30s, different time of my life, more energy, of course, no kids. But, I was burning the candle at both ends for a time, but I knew that it was in service to another reality I wanted to create. So if you're in that time right now where you feel like you're burning the candle at both ends, realize that the things that you're doing to build your business will eventually leverage. Now, I probably work on average 20 to 25 hours a week. And the reason I do that is because I am so productive in those times. So the average person, quote unquote, works at a desk 40 hours a week, maybe gets 4 hours a week of work done. I, quote unquote, work 20 to 25 hours, and I probably get 20 hours of focused work. That's a lot of shit to get done. That's a lot of hours to get done, because when I'm off, I'm off. This morning was an example of really being like, okay, I want to be present, whether I am off work and I'm present with my family. I want to be present. And then when I'm working, it's like all hands on deck, door is closed, I'm fucking locked in, notifications are off, I am not scrolling on social media. I did my recon another time, and I go back to, if I'm doing social media posts, I have the ideas ready to go for when I sit down for block time. So this is a bigger conversation around things like boundaries, around things like energy management, around things like focus, and paying attention to the things that do give you energy. So we've done several episodes on what I call anchor actions. Anchor actions are the things that when they have nothing to do with your work, but when you commit to them daily, it gives you more energy back. So for me, one of my anchor actions is I have to sleep 8 hours a night. Some people can get away with less, that's fine. But for me, it has to be a minimum of 8 hours. Number 2, I need to get a lift in. So a minimum 30 minutes at the gym. And my third anchor action is I have to do a leisure walk every day. It could be 30 minutes, could be an hour, it could be 90 minutes. I have to get outside and I have to be out in nature and I have to be doing a leisure walk of some kind. And so if I get those three things done every day, I am putting myself in the best position possible to be as productive as I possibly can. Now, for you, it might be different. Maybe you have to do yoga or stretching or play with your kiddos or, go for a drive or I don't know. Like you have your other anchor actions. You want to think to yourself, like, what are things that when I do them consistently, it gives me energy back? It helps reset my focus. It helps me be more present. And as much as I was sort of irritated this morning, when I come back to work after being with my family and running around the dog beach with Pip all morning, I come back ready to fucking work and nothing takes a long time because I'm laser focused. And so we have to have this sort of oscillating energy. Am I fully on or am I fully off? And what I have found is that is way more effective than being kind of on all the time. That's a recipe for just being fucking exhausted. It's a recipe for getting to the end of your week and going, I don't even know what I did this week. I'm exhausted. It's living for the weekend versus going, okay, I have times of high productivity and then times when I'm completely off. And then allow yourself to be completely off. Speaking to myself, right? Speaking to myself as well. Hopefully it helps. Block time, y'all. Even if you just get one little 2-hour chunk per day, like you can get a ton done. I have a ton of moms that I work with, and their only time to work. I have a client right now, multiple six-figure business. She only works when her kid's napping. That's it. And she gets all of it done. But she has multiple six-figure business because she has figured out a way to leverage her time and to be focused with the time that she has. And so this is just a reminder that block time is so much more productive than being like, all right, I have all week and I'm going to kind of sort of work all week. Instead, going, where's the dedicated times to do the big downmovers? And then when you finally get that time, that block time, do not waste it on consumption. Do not waste it on scrolling. Do not waste it on doing recon. Do all of that other times in the week when you can kind of be just like maybe your brain space is lower. I do this at nighttime. Like I scroll for like an hour at night, an hour in the morning. And then during the day, I'm pretty much focused on my own work, right? My own creations. So that by the time I get to the evening, I'm like, all right, I've already used up all of my brain power for my business. Now let me go and scroll. And so I find that that sort of works well, this sort of oscillating energy versus trying to be like a 50% all the time, which is what most people do, which is why they don't feel productive. All right, that's all I got for you guys. How to incorporate some block time into your schedule. Even if you get one or two little 2-hour chunks per week, you can get a lot done, but you have to make it a priority and you have to have some boundaries in place, have conversations with your loved ones, close the door, turn off the notifications, and go for it. Good? All right, guys, that's all I got for you. Thank you for being here as usual. If you need anything, you know where to find me at JillFit at FitBizU. I so appreciate you guys listening. And if you have not left a sentence or two as a review, I would really appreciate it. Right now, if you could go to wherever you listen to podcasts, give me a 5-star rating and then leave a sentence or two about what you love about the podcast. It would really mean a lot to me. It would be a huge favor. And it would also give other people who are looking for a fitness business podcast some insight into what they could get on this show. It really means a lot to me, you guys. All right. That's all I got. Thanks so much for being here, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye, y'all.